This cult doesn't like surprises. And so what we need to do is give them some bloody surprises. And I think they've had a few already, but they need a lot more. We mustn't give these people too much credit for being too bright. To understand the psychology of the cult is to understand so much about what's going on. See, these people are not omnipotent and all-powerful. That's what they try to convince us they are. So we'll think, oh, well, there's no point, what do they say? Resistance is futile. Because they want us to believe that, so that we'll just, oh, there's nothing you can do, they're all too powerful. No, they're not. They're pathetic. And what they've done systematically, because they are so limited, they've had to put humanity in a smaller perceptual box than they're in. And it's summed up by, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. They are the one-eyed man, and they've had to make humans blind for that to control them. And they're terrified of humanity waking up, not just to this agenda, but to the true power that we have to create our own reality and to mold our own reality instead of life living us, which is what happens when the cult's in charge. We live life by taking control of our lives and understanding that we have the power to do that. They have to convince the target population that they have no power and there's nothing they can do. So they have to do as they're told and look to their betters who are more intelligent than they are. That's the dynamic they want us to believe in, and it is a farce. It's a fraud. It's not like that at all. And the fear that this cult constantly lives with is one of exposure and one of humanity awakening to its true power, and through that awakening to actually what the game is. And they're showing us how little power they have all the time with their censorship. I'm censored from all these major platforms. I've been for a long time. Now, if they were all powerful, they wouldn't care about me. They wouldn't care what I said, because they're all powerful. They wouldn't care about some kid in his back bedroom who's putting out things that to do with the way the world's manipulated. They won't be frightened of him or her. No, but they are. And the more they censor, as we're seeing now, is so ridiculous. It's so tenuous. It's so unsupportable by the evidence. They're now censoring and deleting people who, for the mildest criticism, they're telling us they have no power. And when the penny drops and we realize where the power is, then this game is over. I mean, how many people we have? We must be getting on towards now 8 billion people. And the number of people that are behind this in full knowledge, you probably get in a single room. And, the answer's staring us in the face. And the thing is, they know it is. They know that any moment, their game could be over. And they're running around like, one of these amusement games, trying to knock people on the head with a hammer when they stick their heads up, trying to stop the public waking up. But what I'm seeing now is we've reached a stage where people in the system are now starting to get it. There are more and more people in the system that are getting it, because they can't explain it away any longer in any other way, except this was all planned, which of course some of us have known about for a long time. If you want to divide a society, you pick one individual and you focus all your blame and all your hatred on him or her. We're being taken into a world in which 2 and 2 equals 5. And to do that, you have to go into a no-fact society, where facts don't matter, we're there, where you just say this is how it is and that's how it is. You don't have to support it with any facts. Where they want to go in terms of political structure is to a global level. So there's a world government dictating, and a world army, and a world central bank, and it's all centrally dictated. Every community in the world is dictated to from this central point. That's what the smart grid's all about. The plans they have to connect the human brain to AI. It's about central control and creating a hive human mind which can be centrally controlled. A relative handful of people can't control billions of people unless the billions cooperate with their own enslavement. You know, you take the people that are ultimately dictating this from the shadows, and you then add to them all the law enforcement and all the officialdom in government that's playing out what they're deciding and enforcing it, and you still got a tiny, tiny, tiny number of people compared with the global population. They're impotent if the population say no, not doing it in anything like big numbers. So it's sitting there, and it's no good people saying, well, I won't do anything yet, but if it gets any worse, I will. And then when it gets worse, which it has been doing all the way through the last year and more, what are you going to do then? Oh, well, I'm not going to do anything now, but if it gets any worse, and so it goes on and on and on and on. And there comes a point where we got to stand up for freedom or not. And the way you stand up for freedom is refuse to be anything but free. What they're doing is desperately trying to divide and rule us by getting the population to police itself. That's what they're trying to do, the Stasi technique of turning the population against itself. But there's still vast numbers of people, despite all that, who've got it and seen it. But we've got to move from seeing it, which more and more people are, to ceasing to cooperate with it, refusing to conform and refusing to obey. And when enough people do that, this is over. It's unenforceable. The whole thing's unenforceable. And the longer we leave it, the more we're allowing these structures of control to lock in this gathering control system. And so what are we waiting for? Because if you think it's going to get any better without you ceasing to cooperate, well, it's not. They're banking on that you think like that. You say, oh, I'll just wait a bit longer. Yeah, okay, let's give them more time to make it worse and to lock in these structures of control, which makes pushback more difficult. How long are we going to wait? I mean, how long have we waited already? Because if people think it's going to get better, or they'll keep their head down and it will get better, it's not. It's not meant to. It's meant to get worse. It's meant to get more and more extreme. If you compromise or appease tyranny, it's a mug's game, because tyranny will always want more appeasement and more appeasement and more obedience and so on, until it's got you completely stitched up and all your freedom's gone. So the only way to meet this is to say, I'm not compromising in any way, shape or form with tyranny. When we've got the numbers, it's over. So it said, well, there's nothing we can do. No, there's nothing you want to do. There's nothing that you would like to do, because you'd rather not have to do it. But we do. We have to look this in the face. We have to look it in the eye and say, no, I'm not cooperating with it. Because they have no power. This is the point. Authority has no power except the power we give to it. Fascism is not brought in by fascists. Never has been. It's not enough of them. It's brought in by public acquiescence, population's acquiescence to fascism. It's the only way it can be brought in. They acquiesce to it, and therefore they got it. And that should be a lesson to us all, but for some, they're still not getting it. You cannot appease fascism. You cannot appease tyranny. You can only look it in the eye and say, I'm not cooperating with you. And what happens, happens. Because in the end, you know, Martin Luther King talked about this, that if you're faced with a great cause and you're being challenged to stand up for some great cause, and my God, it's a great cause when you think of the world our kids and grandkids are going to live in if we don't end this. When you're faced with it, but you won't do it, you let fear or, you know, what are the consequences for me get in the way, something inside you dies. King talked about this. Something inside you dies. And if enough people have that attitude, it's over. And it is that simple. It is that simple. Because the few can't control the many without the acquiescence of the many.